To be God must rule the earth and transform it. Must rule the earth and transform it.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you are in the world and what time you have right now. I was totally taken off guard with this daylight savings time. And with that, of course, I had to adjust everything or try to adjust everything that was in time, out of time. You see, it depends where you are in the world. We're experiencing daylight savings time, so everything jumps ahead an hour. But then you have a full book of clients that are everywhere in the world, that some do that and some don't do that. And then, you sit down and you go, you're kind of crazy. So it's been one of those weekends and days for me. And but I prepared something for you that's kind of really exciting. I hope you like it. And that is that everyone's asking me about protection and mainly for empaths, because empaths are experiencing a tremendous amount of funny energy going on and emotions and this sort of thing at this time. And the thing of it is that when we come into this world, depending on the level of emotion you are, when you come into this world, I have this funny feeling that we're being plugged in to the world's pain, so that we don't rise to a level of understanding of manifesting reality that we should be. And that's because when we get plugged into this pipeline of feeling the whole world, we're processing all of that. So any of us that are empaths are processing the pain of the world. Now, the truth is that the world is manifesting its own reality. So by being plugged into that, it keeps empaths away from their own ability to create and manifest the way they they ought to, or with the way they can. So I'm wondering myself if doing this show here may help a lot of people. I also had a volunteer to help with this show, and she'll be joining us shortly. But I really think that empath protection, of course, fits into the transformation of your reality, because once you learn how to have what's called emotional alchemy, being able to not disassociate your emotions, no, but to have emotional control, where you can bring up a good emotion and feel it and send that state out into your future timeline and experience that. This is important, especially for empaths. In my work, one of the things that I studied was neurolinguistics programming. And in studying neurolinguistics programming, we learned about success strategies and how to elicit success strategies from people. And what is a success strategy? That if they start a pattern in the same way, they'll have success every time. If they start the failure pattern the same way, when they're choosing something new, they'll fail every time. Now, the thing of it is that the patterns would start with visual things, seeing pictures in your mind, hearing words, going back and forth a few times, and then finally having an emotion, which then would create. And so I got looking at that and I went, okay, then we have a situation here where we could just understand that emotion is what is creating reality. All of this other stuff that we're doing is just making the decision to have the emotion. And then when we have the emotion or feeling, that's when we're creating reality. So depending on how we're doing that, we create in a delightful way or in an undelightful way. The thing is that when I started looking at empaths, I understood the fact that they base everything and a lot of things in emotion. The thing about an empath is they're very, very psychic. But they're psychic not in sight and not in auditory. They're not hearing things, but they feel. And they can feel across the room a mood change. They can feel all of this. So if you're wondering whether you're an empath or not, this is some of the indicators for you to understand what an empath is. You can feel. Now, you may not see auras, but you can feel them. And the same thing with people that are auditory. They may not see auras, but they can hear a frequency, or they can hear a tone when it comes to a person. But what we're talking about is empaths today, and how to help protect the empath. We're going to go through a few things in this video that I have to show you. The first thing is to cut this pipeline off from the world's pain, because that's what empaths do, is process pain. If they don't shift, they do that. And so we want to learn to cut that off, wherever that is in the body, cut it off. And then we're going to learn how to protect ourselves, to come into an energy that is source energy and Gaia energy, Mother Earth energy, and how to expand that. And then what to do with the auric field. This can all be done from another level, the level of the imagination. And you know me, if you've watched any of my stuff, I know that the imagination is key. It's probably the most important tool you have. Because you can't go from point A to point B without an imagination. If you don't have an imagination, you ain't going there. And so we're going to be looking at how to go through this, but we're doing it on another level, as you can see. in this upcoming video. I just assist people to go into a state of mind where they can start to do this. And you'll get to see a live event here. And, well, I hope you enjoy it. You pick up a lot of feelings, eh?
Yeah.
Lots of people do. And you pick up other people's feelings?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then is there times where you want to just stay in the house and not go outside?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you come in here as a being that has a good, really deep connection to your feelings, because of course feelings is the key to manifesting reality in a different reality. I have a tendency to begin to understand that people are plugged in as soon as they come in to the world.
Right.
And so you feel everybody's feelings, right? You feel the world.
Yeah. I can feel like when it's upset or, angry, when there's different weather patterns and stuff.
And some of this keeps you off of feeling joy, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that people create their own reality?
Yes. I've been creating it since we first started speaking.
Okay. So if people create their own reality, then if you're feeling all of this, are they not creating that?
What do you mean?
If you're feeling the weight of the world, you know what I mean? You're feeling all of that, are they not at some level creating that?
Yeah.
And so by you processing the world's pain for the world, is that
Probably not a good thing.
probably not for you?
Yeah.
Now if you were to take those feelings and create a reality that is like wow, and other people see that, they'd want to create it too, right?
Right.
So would that be maybe a better thing to do than processing their pain?
Definitely.
Because they need to know where to go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're okay with that today?
Definitely.
Do I have permission to work with the goddess within you? And do you give her permission to do some things for you? Yeah. Okay. Now, when you feel the world's pain, where do you feel it in your body?
My heart.
In your heart. And you're feeling it right now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here, take your sword. So this is like a channel right into you, right?
Right.
Now, is it time to experience something different?
Yes.
And go ahead and cut it off.
The cords or?
The cords, yeah. The cords that you're channeling all of this in. It's like a pipeline into you.
Okay.
Now, how do you feel?
Like I can breathe, not as heavy.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other cords?
I feel like there's some on my back.
Okay, reach back there and cut them off.
Okay.
Okay. Now, how does that feel?
Good.
Yeah? You free?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want you to just take a moment and Father Sky, source energy, whatever you want to call it, it's white light. Okay? And it comes through your crown chakra into your body. Okay? Just breathe it in. And as you do, let me know when it's halfway. And just breathe it in.
It's there.
Okay. Now, I want you to, inside of you, form a ball of love and send it up to source. Okay. And when it reaches source, source sends it back to you tenfold or even 100-fold. And let me know when you feel it.
I
Okay.
can going through my head.
Mm-hmm. Let me know when it reaches your heart.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Mother Earth, her energy is red,
Okay.
and she's below you, right? And so there's another tube of energy that goes down into Mother Earth. I want you to take love and I want you to send it down to Mother Earth, a ball of love. And then she's going to return it. Okay? You feel it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a spiral happening between this white and red energy, creating a pink spiral galaxy inside of you. Every time that you breathe in, just expanding it and expanding it, okay? And I want you to let me know when you have expanded it to the point where it's an arm's length either side of you, above you, and below you.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'd like the goddess within you to go ahead and mirror the outside of that auric field. And so that
Mirror.
any mirror, yeah. And so the reflective aspect is on the outside. So it's reflecting away from you. Okay. Anything that is unproductive, discordant energy or whatever that comes towards you just gets reflected away. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And so I'd like her to do that now. And let me know when it's done.
It's done.
Now, how does it feel to be in there
Really cool.
with the
It's
love of Source and the love of Mother Earth?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like an emotion that there's not a word for.
Yes. And so here you are in this place. Now, if you ever need to read somebody, we're going to install a little door in the front, and it's got a good spring on it so that when you open it up and you read somebody through desire to read or to experience or feel what you want to feel, and then as soon as you're done, it's going to close right back up, even if you forget about it.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're in this energy. Now, this is very restorative energy that you're in right now. Right? Because you've been a long time with being drained, you know.
Right.
This energy helps restore you very quickly to be in this pink field.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are you noticing?
I feel lighter and I feel like my vibration is higher.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just want to go send love balls to everybody.
Good. That helps them more than processing their pain for them. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you can do that. Just send, what would that feel like to just send balls of energy to people? Just send it out.
I sent one out.
No, we're going to test it in another way as well. There's somebody, I'm sure, that when they're around you, their energy isn't that great, right? Okay. Now, I want you to imagine them coming up to you now and notice what happens.
The love is like getting sent to them.
Mm-hmm. And does that energy come through that mirror?
No, it bounces off.
Okay. And what's that feel like to have it bounce off?
Nice.
That's theirs. It belongs to them.
Yeah.
You don't need it anymore. Do you? No. Okay. Now, there's also somebody that you probably are around that thinks very highly of you.
Yeah.
Okay. And see them on the outside. And notice how their love can come in.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Because I seen their love like merging. Does it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And so now this is what the mirror does. It protects you as an empath from discordant energy coming in and affecting you, right? That energy belongs to them. It's theirs.
Right.
Okay.
That's neat.
Okay, good. So what else do you notice?
I feel like gold around outside of the mirror.
Okay, good.
I'm seeing plants grow easier.
Okay. Good. Does plants have a difficulty growing around you before?
I don't know. I never noticed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, that loving energy, right? Okay. Going out, it can go out. And with your connection to source and Mother Earth and expanding that energy, of course, you are now connected, but also you have a new mother and father principle.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like new parents, right? Right. We had a rite of passage in humanity before. And this rite of passage was that at some point we outgrew our parents and took on the spiritual mother and father. But that kind of got written out of the equation, you see.
Yeah.
And so that we were always upset with our parents for not being like God or like the goddess or whatever. But now you are connected to that. Okay. Now, what would you like to do in it?
I definitely want to send it out to people to help them, because there's so many people that are just upset with daily life and they might not even know why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And the more you send out, the more you get.
Yeah.
To send out.
I feel like I want to send it to Mother Earth too.
Okay. Go ahead. And notice what happens when you do that.
It's like a slingshot.
Yes.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah. See, the more you send out, the more you get.
Yeah. That'll be a daily thing, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this is quite simple, but it's your divine right to your own reality. You see,
Right.
your own connection to Source and Mother Earth, and your own level of protection. Okay, and this relationship is a graduation from the relationship you had before with parents, right? You know, and so now you have this new relationship. Now, in that loving energy, right? In that loving energy, guess what? You know, you start to blossom.
Yeah.
You start to heal. You start to renew yourself from what happened, right? Too.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that in the future, in the near future. Just
Mm-hmm.
like adding layers.
Yeah. So again, the higher the vibration, the lighter things become. The lighter things become, the higher the vibration. And you like the vibration, so it starts to snowball in the other direction. If you take a look at humanity is in a downward spiral. Because the worse it gets, the worse it gets. And they just keep talking about it. Now, this is an upward spiral. So the better it gets, the better it gets. And you start to spiral upwards, right?
Yeah.
So the snowballing effect can happen in both ways, right? And so now you're in this, yeah.
Now, is there any way that I can send it to Mother Earth and she could send it to others? Maybe with me and others, or just others?
You can come up with and create anything you wish,
Okay.
right? But the thing is, as soon as you send it out, you're going to be replenished.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Double whammy.
Huh?
Double whammy.
Yep. Yep. And so, she's not going to let you get away with depleting yourself.
Right.
Right? Yeah. So,
Mothers don't usually do that.
they don't. No. 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 Yeah. And so that's the protection.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to help a lot of people because so many people are empaths. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
it's so true. And so many people are drained by that feeling of connected to what's happening to the world. Now you see, they're all very powerful beings, right? Because they move from that emotional state.
right.
If we're highly visual, we see pictures and we create visually, and then auditorily, and then finally it drops into our feelings, and then it's manifested. But empaths come in already right there. All right. So that's learning what's called emotional alchemy, which is you can change your emotions really quickly. Now, with that pipeline on there, that seemed like that was an impossibility, but now that it's cut off, you can have any emotion right now and just raise it up.
Yeah.
How fast do you want to go into a higher vibration? Well, I hope you like that. That's viewing a live session with doing the protection for empaths. And many of us are, are empathic, and we pick up feelings. And so if you have any questions, just put them in the chat here. I know that there was one back here, and let me know if you can hear me fine. Yes, Andrea was asking about advising her on anger. Since you were talking about emotions, I've been getting their quick voices in my head. Now, this voices in the head, I haven't talked about this much, but voices in the head, sometimes we need to do, removal of attachments, right? Or, even get right down to removing these attachments from inside of us. Sometimes this is very good to do, is to, go see Kelly and get implants removed, because there's something going on there. Sometimes one needs to actually have a removal done. I have done, dark entity removals from the inside. Sometimes that happens. That are the voices. But I want you to know that these voices, for one, can be turned down. You have control. You can come back to your free will and state the law. It's very important, folks, to state the law of free will. To say, I have the law of free will on my side. And when we're having something like this, like with voices, and say, and within the law of free will, you can't do this. And I'm now exercising the law of free will, get out. When we start doing things like this and coming back to our own, I talked about last time, the last interview, about our own sovereignty, our own power as a free will being, and that we do have the right to say, get out. We do have the right to, to say, get out, stop, but state the law of free will. It's like a card right from the universe that says you have the right to your own life and your own free will, and nothing can interfere with that. So, I want you to remember that when you're working with these voices, is that you need to stand up to them too, and say to them, look, you're breaking the law of free will, get out. Otherwise, yes, Kelly does the implant removals, and then I do the, if it's a dark entity inside, sometimes that happens too. I work with that, so yeah. So, does anyone have any questions about what they seen on the video that I showed you just now, or about the video, or about that process of cutting off? See, when we're working on another realm, this is why, we were so entrained not to use our imagination, so that we wouldn't have access to these other levels to do things, for ourselves. And so yeah, working with the imagination, working with the ability to do these things, cut this off, raise your energy, raise your vibration, protect yourself. These things are happening on another level as I'm working with you. Okay? So they're happening from another level, and then they get lowered into 3D by the end of the session. So it's created here and ends up here. They're actually feeling it, right? And when we do this and we create this protection, then the world gets really peaceful too. So just like the critic, or just like removing the critic or doing the inner child work, or I've seen a pattern that holds people from their true expansion of the God consciousness. And this is it. These are the things that I see that really hold people back. And once you correct this and undo, you free yourself to your own natural vibration, which is a lot higher. A lot higher indeed. Yes. Don't seem to have too many questions tonight. Waiting for questions. Wouldn't want to end the show early. And so, again with, here comes a dandy. So, okay, this is, I'll get through this one. What are your thoughts on whether we have the ability to rejuvenate our bodies and our normal way of living, leaving this planet, dying, would be our choice when we wish to leave? Maybe we were fed the lie when we were made to believe that death was inevitable. I suspect we could do the same. Enlightened gurus living a light when they choose to. What do you think? Yes, I think so. I know so. There's something called living from our social consciousness, which says you've only got this much time. That's it. Right? Okay? And you should really be worried about that. You should get life insurance and death insurance, and you should, all of this stuff, because you've only got this much. Holy God. Before this came into the picture, we lived on the land. We lived free. We were free beings, and we lived in something called timelessness. Timelessness. Some of you have entered timelessness, I'm sure, where it's a whole different level of time. And when you let go of time completely, still you're never late too much, unless you really don't want to go somewhere, then you might be late. This is the beginning of it. As you start to explore outside of this, we put this aside, and we come back into the God, the goddess that we are, because we are. You begin to find that there's a different consciousness there, and this consciousness has never grown old. It will never die. It's never been born. In some cultures, they talk about the fact that weapons can't cleave it, fire can't burn it, and nothing can drown it. Okay? This part of you is eternal. So let's break it down to something very, very simple. If you say I'm scared, I'm frightened, it doesn't take long before you are, right? If you say I am limited in time, you are. If you say I am eternal, just try that mantra out a few times. I am eternal. I am the everlasting light of source energy. I have never been born, nor will I ever die. Now, we're rising up into what's more the ancient Egyptian concepts of living this eternal life rather than this life that we've been fed. And here's the justification for it in their terms. They don't want you to live too long, right? Because, I mean, they have to take care of you. So they tell you that, and people believe it. Here's another concept, Henriette, is that if you float off this planet, just think about it. If you float off this planet out to where maybe the space station is, or maybe by the moon somewhere, we lose something. We lose the fact that our planet is turning. Our planet is turning, and every time it turns, it'll come in view of the sun, wherever you're living, in view of the sun, and then out of view of the sun. And that's considered a day. Okay? And so many days equals so many birthdays, right? But the thing that is, if you float out here, it's one big day. Because the sun shines, or you turn around and it doesn't. Right? And so what they experience out in space is a reversal of their age even as they go out there. Because there isn't the belief system about night and day equaling another day older, ticking closer to the grave, which they sell us, but it's not true. This part of you that is eternal, this part of you that has never been born nor will it ever die, the part of you that looks through your eyes, not with your eyes, but through, that part of you is eternal. It's always been here. When we start exercising our own thought processes and start living from that aspect, start saying affirmations that are congruent with that, we start seeing magic. I've heard that a great percentage of diseases aren't. They're generated by the worries of people, and they create them in their own reality. That by studying the symptoms on the internet, that they begin to have the symptoms. Isn't that magical? Because they put it into their head and they start doing that. What if we were to flip that around and start looking at what the cures would feel like and what would happen there? The cures, the freedom of something, right? What if you could start coming up with ideas that takes you right into this eternal aspect of yourself? So hopefully I went on and on about that subject because I love that subject about, are we eternal? Are we able to heal ourselves? Are we able to come out of old belief systems? And I say yeah, so hopefully I answered your question. So, Kayla Ray said, what session should I book for the inner critic? There's actually a program on my website for the inner critic. It's a two-session program, and we release the critic and do that work with releasing the critic. Once you release the critic, there is this peacefulness that happens inside of you because you don't have a counter that's countering all your spiritual evolvement stuff. Okay? So whenever you're moving forward, it's not taking you back 3 steps anymore, right? Removing the critic, if you could imagine, if the critic was outside of you and was doing that to you and called itself your friend, would you believe it if it was outside of you? But being it's inside of you, a lot of people think that that's itself, that's its own, that's critic is their own voice, that it's them, and it's never been you. You weren't born with a critic. Babies aren't born with a critic. Babies are born loving who they are. A critic is developed So that means it's a program. It's a pattern. The critic has been developed so that you don't step too far out of the social hypnosis. So there's a hypnosis going on, this societal, social hypnosis. Anyone that steps out of that societal hypnosis, right, is deemed crazy. They should be back in here. Well, I'll tell you, like I mentioned on the last one, there's so many of us out here now looking in at this. This looks pretty crazy, right? Because it's riddled with limitation. It's riddled with not exploring or sharing who you are in the real. So getting rid of the critic is like, getting rid of that nasty friend that, used to always, put you down. And you finally divorce that friend and you walk away and you listen to people that love you and, think you're pretty good. Think you're nice. Well, guess what happens to your self-esteem? Guess what happens to all of it? It all rises once you get rid of the critic. So yes, just come by my site. In fact, there's a code here to save 10%. And it's in capital letters, magic for you. Don't do it tonight. Give me time. I just remembered that at the end of a certain term that went off, so I've got to go reinstate it. If you want to do that, do it tomorrow morning. I guarantee you that it'll be back up, and you can, at the point of purchase on that 2-session program, you can save 10%. So yes. Now, what else? Yes. Brenda asked, so basically we need to be re-hypnotized to believe the opposite of what we believe now. Mostly. Yeah, mostly. And so when I share with people what I'm doing, I'm dehypnotizing. I'm dehypnotizing from this. Okay? So when you step out of this confine that was set up, it was intricate how it was set up, and you wouldn't believe who set this up too. It's been going down for a few hundreds of years, thousands of years. That this corral, to corral us in to believe in this one reality, right? Has been going on. So I help people dehypnotize from what's going on here and come back into self-love and come back into the sovereignty of their own spirit, their own ability to manifest their own reality, and we step out of that confine, right? And we step out of there and move on to what we were intended to do here. We were intended to have a good time. We were intended to have fun. We were intended to come here and experience what it's like to become source energy or God. And I'll say that completely. I mean, that's the gig here. It's not about being less than. I mean, we've had oh my God, thousands and thousands of years of being less than God. And look where it's got us. It's about stepping into who you truly are. You're looking for a savior? You look in the mirror. You're it. You're going to save yourself, as we all are. We're all going to look into the mirror and realize that we're the ones that have been trapped and captured into this one reality that they say is the one reality. It's a hypnotic state, right? That's how come you feel so much freer when you go out into open spaces and you're just by yourself and you can be your imagination, you can be whatever, because you're stepping out of the confines. So yes, what I do is I help people dehypnotize and come back into a neutrality that's not affected by anybody's hypnosis. And in there, they can start creating their own reality in the fashion that they want to without these limited belief systems, right? And it doesn't take as long as you think. It takes very little time. Oh, here's some more. White. I have felt that I am actually draining myself with something that is mirroring an aspect of myself. Usually I can feel what others are feeling without feeling drained. But when I feel drained, I feel like it's me squeezing off my own flow, because it's an aspect of my inner stuff being reflected by another. Does this ring true? It does, because it's happening to you. So it's absolutely true. Now, what do you want to do about it? Right? Because here we're looking at the metaphor that this is actually squeezing you off, wringing, I forget what you put here. You're squeezing yourself off from your own flow. Now, that means that something's happening deeper in the fact of you truly accepting your source energy. And so that could be part of the critic doing that, squeezing you off. The metaphor would be, well, if it's squeezing you off, open it up. And what does that feel like? Right? And you could get away with just doing the metaphor of opening it up. But if you're having any more trouble with that, then that, maybe removing the critic. I also do sessions that are specifically, if that's what you want to come see me about, I could something totally creative, because of course that's basically how I work anyway. So come with whatever it is that you have. Just because it doesn't fit some of the programs I have, we can go into discoveries and just, because the one thing that I do is help people go from point A to point B. Now, this can be, stuck state of some kind, whatever it is, to the absolute freedom of that. And why can I do that is because I understand the basic theory of how this is created in the first place, and we just back engineer it and go the other way. And it works wonderfully because it's your own system, and it's you, and it's your own stuff. So that's what makes it powerful for you, is because it's designed specifically with your stuff in mind, right? And I have to say stuff because I don't know what I'm working with just yet with you. But I think you get my drift. Okay, so here's some more questions. What is your opinion on picking up on animals' feelings and emotions and blocking yourself from that when they are too strong? Well, like in the video, my opinion is that you got to stop it. You got to stop it, because sometimes what'll happen is there's a virtual attachment and a draining that'll happen. If it brings your vibration down in any way, this is Randy. If it brings your vibration down in any way, cut it off, stop it. No, because that's vampirism. That's different than reading. Okay, so you got to be really careful when you're reading that you don't fall into vampirism. I've had people vamp off me. And I'm telling you, it's long after the session's over and the phone call's done or the visit's done. And I have to do something energetically at that time to cut off that vamping off of me. Because at one point in time, I had so many attachments and vamping going on me, I just about faded away. That was before I learned how to do the removal. But and that's why I learned how to do it, is through experience. And most of the things that I share with you and you're going through sessions and stuff, I've experienced that. That's how come I'm using it. I wouldn't use it if I didn't experience it. And but there's times, that I had to do that. I originally started to do it like like, I don't know about you guys, but up here in Canada, we can have what's called bloodsuckers in the lake. And they're just these little, like, worm-like things that attach to you and start sucking your blood. So if you go swimming in the lake, you can have one or two sometimes. And so we check each other and whatever, make sure we're not, And all you do is take a salt shaker and shake salt on it, and it just pops off and, whatever. And so when I first started doing this, I was using the salt shaker, right? With intent. But, when you do this, even with good relationships and you cut it off, it's okay because it can reattach. You have every right to go into your own energy for a while. You can have a lot of people, even loving people, attached to you, right? And, or not so bad or whatever, attaching to you. And it's okay every once in a while to go into your own sacred space and cut all cords off and just be in your own energy and receive back the energy that you spent out, right? And so that's a really neat meditation to do, because when you receive back what you have spent out in thought, emotion, talking to people in your own head or whatever, and you reclaim all that energy back, it can be a very, very powerful thing to do. Now, in loving relationships, as soon as you're with them again, you're going to reattach again. It's fine. But it's a good thing to get free and experience how high you can take this energetic field, right? Yourself. Now. Okay, Victoria asked me here, can you please give pointers to help kids not to be hypnotized and keep their worth? This happens at home. This happens at home when we talk to the child. And when we're talking to the child and we listen to them and we spend time really seeing them, the magic they are, the power they are, these sorts of things. And so we spend time this way, then they're not so easily swayed when it comes to the school system. But being that we were all raised in a way where we weren't seen, it's hard for us to see as well. But I'll tell you, there's an old saying, not an old saying, but an old truism here, where there's a tribe in Africa that says, instead of saying hello, they say, I see you. They look deeply into the person and they say, I see you. And the person answers back, thank you, because when you see me, you bring me to life. Remember, when we're taking the blinders off, there's something grander. There's something grander that we put away. We put it away by choice, but with children, this is the defining time where they're being pushed. The greatest part of them is being pushed into a box over here. And why I say the greatest part of them is because that's the God within them. And it's being pushed into a box over here. This is how come we see behaviors with children. Violent behaviors, screaming, tantrums, these sorts of things. Because that part of them, this beautiful goddess that they are, is going into a box. And they're stomping their feet and they're not impressed with this. I wouldn't be either. And so I kind of celebrate that and say, stomp away and get out of that box, you see. Now, to keep their self-worth is for them to have a sounding board when they get home that sees them and helps them with that. Remember, the critic is developed then in childhood, in the school at that time. That's when the critic is developed. And it's helpful to be able to look past the critic as the parent and look to the God within and see them. I see you. I've done that with babies. I come up to babies and I look at them and they smile a little bit and I say, I see you in there. And all of a sudden they start to giggle and laugh, right? There's something more in all of us. There's times when I do that with adults, just about every day, where I look inside and I say hello. And I'm saying hello with my intent to that greater aspect of them. And that greater aspect starts coming out, right? And so, I've gotten the name the Source Whisperer because I do that. I bring Source out of people. I just call it out, right? Because it's time. What are the technical requirements to do sessions online? Skype. You can do Skype. You can do Google Plus. Or I have something called Vimo. Not Vimo. I have something called Zoom. And with Zoom, you can record on your side the session if you want to. So you just have to request that at the point of appointment, whether you want Skype or you want Google Plus or you want, if you want Zoom. The other ones won't let you record it, but Zoom will let you record it on your side as long as you're using a computer or a laptop. If you're using your phone, no, it won't. But yeah, let's see. Yes, that shielding works for vampires as well. Bijou, Betty, was asking this question. And does this work for vampires as well? Yes. You could see, the thing with mirrors is they don't like mirrors, right? They don't like seeing their own reflection. And neither does dark energy, right? Okay, so this is the point of the mirror. Okay, mirroring. So when they look at themselves, they're going to run away from that aspect of themselves. Okay. Remember, they hide in the dark, right? Because they don't want to come out into the light. So seeing their own reflection freaks them out. Okay. So away they go. So yes, the same thing with vampires. You just put a mirror up. Know full well if you're feeling it, that they're doing this to you. You just put a mirror up, right? Cut off the energy. Because there's going to be a feeling. It's like, that you feel that they're suckling off you. And you cut that energy off and put a mirror up. And let them see their own reflection. Okay? Now, you may notice, people, that that person will behave weird for a little while. They might even get angry. Okay? And I've seen that, anger. All right? Because they're not getting fed anymore. And this is where you start looking at this and going, there's a little bit more going on here than just the 3D, isn't there? Yeah. There's other levels that things are happening on. So when you put a mirror up and all of a sudden they can't feed anymore, they get a little angry, It's like, because, and it's just going to come out in words probably or whatever. But the thing that is that when you stop the feeding, you cut them off you wean them, right? They don't like that. And that's okay, right? Because you don't necessarily need that sort of relationship with someone anyway, right? So, can people be bloodsuckers without that being their soul's intent? Yeah. we're moving into where you have dual energy in the body, okay? So that you have this God within that would never do something like that. But then there's an attachment, or there is dark energy that's creating this feeding frenzy. And so, yes, the person themselves may not know it, right? Or they may not know it and have been living that way all their life and not knowing that they've been doing it. So, yeah, on both. Anne has asked, can you have more empathy about yourself? And you should. You should have empathy for yourself, and we're taught that we shouldn't love ourselves. We're taught that that's a selfish thing to do. Yeah. If you don't love the very source energy that is you, then what, right? If you don't love yourself enough to walk away from something, right, then you stay in pain. The thing is that you have to have, at some point, compassion for yourself. The way that I like to do that is to see the little boy and the little girl that you are inside, maybe at about 5 years old. And take a look at that little boy and that little girl and think about that. Somebody's doing something to the adult, but they're really doing it to this little part of you, too. It makes it a little easier to say no, you know. That's enough. Back off, or whatever you want to say. But yeah, it helps sometimes to look at it this way, and then that way, this little aspect of you can have compassion for. This little aspect of you can have empathy for, right? So that might be helpful to look at it that way. Andrea's going to kick ass now because she's found out she can retrieve the energy she lost. Bijou says, my son just giggled when you said, I see you. Yeah, that's how it works. Literally, and it can work for any of you watching as well, is when you look with intent. You look right into the God and the Goddess within. Hello, Victoria. Glad you caught the show. Sure. Randy's asking, connect with them. Can you connect with babies that are still in the womb? Yes, we did that on our last event that we did in Arlington, Texas, with Kelly. Someone was there, and she was just about ready to have her baby, right? And she came to the event, and so we did a lot of things with the little baby inside. You know, you can see the baby inside, and you know, connect with that baby. Now that baby's totally connected to its God self. Then, when babies come out, they're connected to their God self. That's how come they giggle so much when you say, I see you. And, but it's later on that we start losing that, you know, that connection with each other, or the connection with that part. We stop talking to that part. It starts going into the file 13 over there. Yeah. Bijou's little one is 2.5 years old and was laughing at me, saying, giggling at, I see you. Yeah. That's sweet. Well, folks, I guess it's time to go. Another show done. Daylight savings time. Next week I'll be on par with it, but this week it took me right by surprise, you know. And we jumped an hour. Where does that put you? I don't know. An hour behind me? Should I back up an hour? Should I, it's all this stuff, that they play with you here with, you know. If you rub a pig's ear, do you get a Pop-Tart? It's really, playing with us, flipping that time back and forth. I mean, the thing of it is, though, is it was for farmers, eh? But they haven't caught up that farmers have lights on their tractors now. They can farm anytime. It's not like running out there before in front of the horse with a candle. Hey, we don't need the daylight savings time anymore, right? Anyway, blessings to you. Thank you for coming by, and make sure to stop by the site if you need anything. Wait until tomorrow as far as to use this Magic for You code at the point of purchase to get your 10%, and I'll have that set up tonight, probably just after the show here. What else do I want to tell you? Love, light, and blessings. See ya.